Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.
Sir, this time the table has been turned. And normally what happens when the defense aspirant enter into personal interview room, our hearts start pounding. It's something happened to you right now.
Yeah, it appears so. I am on the other side now. I'm sitting on the hot seat.
Sir, my luck is actually very good. The first time it's happening that I'm taking the interview of not only the interviewing officer but the president of the board. So that's a privilege for me. But I'm going to ask a very fiery question to you, sir.
Sure, you're most welcome.
So I like to know your all the experience from Defense Aspirant Academy plus SSB Bangalore board, sir. So, sir, I will start the questions. So, first of all, I like to ask you very important question. Most of the defense aspirant believe the OIR is not checked in the SSB. Is it true or not, sir?
You see, SSB does not do anything just for showing it to the candidates. It is a very, very serious thing. You are trying to select a candidate who has to serve with the Indian Army or the Defense Forces for 35 to 40 years. OIR is primarily checking the IQ levels of the candidate, and it's one of the important facets before you take him on to stage 2. So this is the myth that candidates have, that OIR is not checked. It is definitely checked and becomes instrumental in taking you to stage 2.
So we are going to take a little pause over here, and right now I'm going to explain you first how the stage 1 works actually. So you need to understand in officer intelligence rating test, what happen is that there's a verbal and non-verbal test. In that test, you get 5 ratings: OIR 1, OIR 2, OIR 3, OIR 4, OIR 5. Now these rating has some meaning. 1 stand for outstanding, 2 above average, 3 high average, and 4 and 5 is average and below average. So your target is to get these 3 ratings, any of these one. Better you get OIR 1, it is better for your result for screening. Now let's understand that how the screening process work. So once you get the OIR marks, which is 1, 2 or 3, which is most preferred one, then the assessor, GTO officer, interviewing officer and psychologist has 3 power. What are these powers are? Yes, doubtful and no. Now understand this box, it's very important. Suppose this is your chest number, this is your OIR marks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the GTO marks regarding yes, no or doubtful in same manner over here. So GTO, Psych and IO. So GTO and Psych has compiled all these marks on the basis of narration and GD. So by compiling OIR plus these marks of narration and GD, your result will come out. Now listen to the sir words, what he is saying regarding this whole process. You will be clear about it.
Let me take 3 most obvious cases where you have IO, GTO and Psych all giving yes. There is no ambiguity. So candidate, as far as OIR is concerned, he goes. When all the 3 gives negative, then also there is no ambiguity, the candidate is dropped. Now the problem comes, or the discussion comes, when there are 2 people who have given doubtful and one has given no. That is where the people who've given doubtful and the person who's given no, their views are taken, and collectively it is decided that candidate should be taken to stage 2 or no. But let me assure you, Shubham, what happens is, if in stage 1 we have a doubt about the candidate, most probably we give him a chance to go to stage 2.
Okay, but sir, you have a limitation to take to the student to stage 2. Then how you are saying that you will take the student to the next stage? Your limitation of seat, limitation of officers are there.
When I'm saying that we take him to stage 2, now what happens if I take an additional candidate to stage 2? That means the assessors will get a load of 1 extra candidate. If it comes to taking that candidate and we have a kind of belief that this candidate has a chance to get recommended, we definitely are willing to take that additional load.
Okay, so if we move a little forward from here, sir, then I like to ask you a difficult question, sir. That is, SSB is a knowledge-based test or a personality-based test, sir?
It is definitely a personality based test, because knowledge has already been tested when people have undergone for UPSC examinations, or we have kind of accepted the marks that they have got in the boards for the direct entry test or the NCC candidates who come directly there. So now it is 5 days of checking out what the candidate himself is all about. And that is what is checked out in the SSB for 5 days.
Okay, but sir, we all defense aspirant have noticed that the knowledge-based questions were also asked. Whether it's technical, whether it's 12th board questions, whether it is current affairs, it's always asked.
You see, PIQ forms the basis of interview for a candidate. Now, whatever he has filled up in the PIQ, it is the responsibility of the interviewing officer to check whether he's written it correctly or he's just filled up the PIQ form without even performing those activities. Let me give you an example. Suppose a person has written his hobby as stamp collection. When I ask him what is stamp collection called as, he doesn't know. Which is the first stamp that he's collected, he can't explain. How many stamps he's got, he is doubtful. That shows that he may have written stamp collection as a hobby, but he is not too serious about it. So it is just to check whatever has been filled in the PIQ form, whether that is correct or it is not correct.
So still my question is left. My question is very simple. That's you ask knowledge-based question. Like for example, right now Citizen Amendment Bill Act is going on, so you're going to ask about it. Right now, the Bangladesh Prime Minister and Japanese Prime Minister cancel their visit, you surely going to ask about it. NPR has came, you will surely going to ask it. Then if it's a personality test, then why you are taking the current affair or any other knowledge in the personal interview?
You see, what we are looking for in SSB is candidates who are average, above average candidates who's got all-round developed personality. Any responsible person, any responsible citizen is supposed to be aware of what's happening around him. It is just to find out whether he cares for what's happening around him or no. You can't live in a cocoon. You can't live in a society where you don't know what's happening around you. It is just to check that general awareness that these questions are asked.
Okay, sir, I like to pick up the last statement which you have said, sir. You said you are looking for average and above average students who has overall development in his personality. That means he should be really good in academics and fairly good in sports also. But we have seen the students who got recommended in SSB who have never played any sports. How it's possible then?
You see, we are not looking for a person who's excelled in sports, excelled in academics, or excelled in extracurricular activities. I said all-round developed personality. It's not that he has to be excellent in all these things. If he has been participating in everything, and then even if his academics are not top-notch, but a shade less, he's participated in games. Like you're saying, he may not have participated in extracurricular activities, but he has compensated maybe by participating in extracurricular activities or in academics. If he's done very well in academics, he's gone a little low in extracurricular activity, which is okay. We find that he has utilized his time fruitfully. All the resources which were available to him, he has made use of it. Then it is fairly okay. He justified.
Okay, so over here I like to ask one more question, sir. That there's a very big confusion regarding hobbies, interests, and co-curricular activities. They all sound similar. Then why it is written on the PIQ form, sir?
Okay, let me give you a kind of definition of a hobby. If I give you maybe 2 hours time right away and tell you you do whatever you would love to do and you can do, that is your hobby. For example, and normally games and sports are not considered as hobby. If you say football is your hobby, then I'm sure in next 2 hours, how are you going to find those 20-25 guys to play football with? So that's not possible. So hobbies are more individual in nature, where you would love to do some activity. For example, like I mentioned, stamp collection, coin collection, maybe sketching, painting, playing a musical instrument, even watching TV or internet surfing, they can also be hobby. But only thing is you can distinguish between fruitful hobbies and not so fruitful hobbies. It's like if you say watching TV is a hobby, you also know that TV is called an idiot box. Actually, TV is just a box. Idiot is sitting in front of him. So it is it is whether you are using that time constructively or you're not using it so constructively. That is as far as hobby is concerned. When you say interest is little less serious than a hobby. That you've just got acquainted with an activity, you've got interest into it, but you've still not developed into a hobby. And as far as co-curricular activities are concerned, these are kind of, you have your debates, declamations, which kind of support your curriculum, but they are not directly part of the curriculum. So that is how you can distinguish the three.
Okay, if I like to dig more, sir, in the army, when you get commissions, everything when you want to test a person, sports is used to see how potential the candidate or the officer is. Then why and how you can just lack sports in that PIQ form? How it's possible?
No, we see that if he is participated in some sports, maybe in a school or college level, which possibly, if he is given an opportunity, he can participate in various other games and sports. Most of our candidates who come from rural, semi-rural areas, the schools don't have all these facilities available to them. So that is also taken care of while we are interviewing. A person may be coming from a maybe a SANIC school where all the facilities are available, and maybe vis-a-vis a person who's coming from a rural background where in his school all these facilities are not available. So we do not penalize that person as long as he's played some games. Even if he says that he's playing kabaddi or kho or any other rural game which is available there, which is fairly okay.
Okay, so I like to define this question more in a different manner, sir. Suppose a person came from a model school or CBSE board school, which is an urban town, and there is an option for sports, but still he, rather than choosing sports, he choose other activities. So what an impact on his personal interview, sir?
So now you see, when the resources are available and the candidate does not make use of them, that slightly goes against the candidate. Suppose a candidate comes from, again coming back to SANIC school or a military school, who has not played any game, despite all the games being available there, then it goes against the candidate.
But you say slightly against in your previous statement in urban school.
When I say slightly against, because there is not a single thing which decides his recommendation or non-recommendation. It is sum total of his personality that will be taken into consideration. So that's why I am saying slightly against.
Okay, so if we move a little forward, this is one question for sure every entering officer is like to ask. Tell me three weakness and three strong point about yourself.
It is, basically we are interacting with our friends, our parents, our teachers, and so many other people. And when you interact with these people, they always keep telling you about your strong points and weak areas in different manners, some subtly, some directly. So it is to find out whether a candidate himself identifies his weak areas and strong points or no.
Okay, so I like to move a little more forward. But if you say weakness and strong point, would you like to see something like inside of a person, how a person know about himself, or is just a viewpoint of others you like to see?
No, let me give you an example. Suppose your friends tell you that Shubham, you lose temper very fast. Now, there are two, three things that can happen. Firstly, you may turn around and say, "तुम बात ही ऐसी करते हो, मैं गुस्सा कहाँ करता हूँ?" That means they have told you your weak area, but you are not prepared to accept it. And if you do not accept it, it's definite that you will not be able to improve on it also. Second thing is, if you have accepted that you lose temper, then definitely there is a scope and chance that you will be able to improve on it. Then we want to find out whether you've taken certain actions to overcome this losing temper or no.
Okay. Now, so there is a one chance when if I take an hostelite who remain far away from his family, and there is a CIQ format where the parents, friends, and teachers has been asked. Friends and teacher can be completed part, but the parents part surely being completed. How you take that?
Now, even if the person is staying away from his family, that does not mean that he is got kind of disconnected or removed from the family. In fact, when you stay away from the family, your love and affection for the family increases. It is simply that, how you feel about your parents, how, what is it that, you know about them, what is it that they think about you. These are the certain things which every family member knows. It is just that we want you to put them in words and explain as to what is it that you actually know about them or how you feel about them. It is basically, if a person comes from a happy, well-knit family, it has to be, a product coming out from happy, well-knit family has to be good one. So if a person belongs to a happy, well-knit family, it's a welcome step.
Okay, sir, I have talked some of the candidates who have, I mean, studied in Defense Aspirant Academy, and I'm sorry I didn't told you that I have talked to them. But I come to know that you only take 10 candidates in your batch. Am I right?
That's right, Shubham. It is primarily because I feel each candidate need to be given personal attention. At the same time, he need to be given a personal feedback. Whatever drawbacks you as a candidate may have, they may not be there in the other candidate. So I cannot give a generalized points as far as any of your tests are concerned, because your disease has to be cured by a separate medicine and the other candidate's disease has to be, cured by a different medicine. So there cannot be a journal or a same medicine for everyone. That is the reason that I do not take more than 10 candidates. If there are more than 10 candidates, I go about spending more time, but make two batches and do them separate.
But don't you think you are putting X on your feet? Because surely the Colonel rank persons are earning in crores right now in the market. And you are saying that I am going to take only 10 sprints. Your income is less. Your time is equally spent at the person who is getting crores.
No, my income doesn't get affected by this. My effort into the act increases, because whatever I could do, maybe by taking 20 people in the same batch, I am doing two batches for the 20 people. So that's exactly, the effort is more, I agree. But that effort also pays off because the candidates are better prepared to face the SSB if there are only 10 or less.
Okay, so I like to come back to the SSB part, sir. Now there's a situation where it is asked that certain current affairs questions. So the candidate answer the question in two format. Either he answer right, either wrong. There's also one format that he don't know. So when a candidate say wrong answer, what impact on a person interview happen?
You rightly said there are three ways to answer a question. I always recommend my candidates that if you know the answer, give it out confidently. If you do not know the answer, you should always be forthright enough to say, sorry sir, I am not aware about the answer. But if you are doubtful, always take a preemptive bail and say, I am not sure, but I think this is the answer. That will give you a leeway. Even after you've given a wrong answer, interviewing officer will not keep flogging the same question to you. So that will help you out.
Okay, but so my question is still left. Suppose you said the wrong answer. What is the impact on the person interviewer?
Suppose I ask you who's the Prime Minister of our country and you happen to mention Mrs. Sonia Gandhi is the Prime Minister. Now, interviewing officer have a habit of not changing his expression. He'll keep smiling at you and he'll continue asking. Now he'll say who's the President of Congress. Then you'll possibly end up saying maybe Mr. Manmohan Singh is the President of the Congress. Then he'll continue with this till he is cornered you. So that is where you run the risk if you give a wrong answer and continue pressing different answers for the same question. So that is why I recommend, if you do not know, say forthrightly that you do not know the answer. Otherwise say that I am not sure, but I think it's Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. Then he will not press you further.
Okay, so my next question is that in SSB two kind of people comes. One after 12, which is from ND or TS entry, and one after the graduation. So did there is any difference in the personal interview or not, sir?
See, as far as personal interview is concerned, there is no difference in both the entries. Whether he comes after NDA or plus two entry, or he comes after graduation entry, or I'll go a step further, if he comes after post graduation entry, like JAG branch and all people go, education core people go. There is no difference as far as conduct of the SSB is concerned. Now the difference comes, a person who's come after NDA, his age is about anything between 17 to 19 years of age. And a person who's coming after graduation, his age is about 20, 21 years. So we do give some kind of compensation to a person who's 16, 17 versus a person who's 20, 21 or versus a person who's 25, 26 if he is coming after post-graduation entry.
So what compensation you give, sir, that we 21-year-old has to miss, 21 year more miss that?
It is internal practice. There are a couple of things, couple of factors which are taken into account. One factor is the age, because lesser your age, there are more chances that you can be trained into whatever one is required to be trained into. Because it's a, as we call it, it's a kachi mitti.
Okay.
So as age keeps increasing, the chances of training you for a particular thing reduces. So it is to compensate on that. Second thing is your background. Like I mentioned one of the earlier questions too, that if a person is coming from a rural background and a person is coming from urban backgrounds in New Delhi. Now a person who was in New Delhi, he's got lot of resources which are available to him because he is in a developed place. And a person who is coming from rural background, he does not have all those resources. So it will be unfair to compare the two on the same level. So a bit of compensation is there. So there is a well set procedure on which it is given. It's not arbitrary.
Okay, but sir, you have one more leverage. As you said, there is a kachi mitti that 12 pass student is there. So surely, if there is some lack in OLQ, did you give some privilege? Okay, कोई बात नहीं, academy में जाके सही हो जाएगा. Where it do not happen in the case of 21-year-old person.
No, firstly, we conduct the entire interview without keeping these factors in mind and put him at a particular level. Whatever his level, as per the SSB interview, evaluation is. Thereafter, we add this additional whatever percentage he gets into his marks, and that is his final.
Okay, so there is no as much big difference. So if we I like to go a little more forward, sir. So sir, I like to ask one question over here. In your Defense Aspirant Academy, and personally your experience with Bangalore board, you come up with a conclusion that our candidate should not know about OLQs. Why?
You see, when the best way to get through any interview is by being natural. Moment I try and explain to you about the OLQs which are there, which I do not mention at Defense Aspirant Academy at all. Now, moment I explain these OLQs to a candidate, I have put an additional filter in front of his eyes. Before he speaks anything, he will put anything that he wants to speak through this filter. If he finds it's okay, then he will speak, otherwise he will stop. So I have inhibited his natural flow or the spontaneity, which is a must in an interview. So that is why I am against this filter to be put or explaining the ULP. Second aspect is, now everyone has got certain good points and certain not so good points in his personality. If certain person is having certain good points, why should I explain OLQs to him and further complicate things for him? For example, his communication skill is good. Why is there a need to tell him that these are the aspects which are required to be seen in communication skill? Because he is already having a good communication skill, so one should let it go. I should check the candidate in holistic manner and then tell him wherever he lacks so that he can improve only on those aspects which are required to be improved.
Okay, sir, I'd like to ask one last question over here regarding a rapid fire. So, for the fresher, I like to speak one rapid fire in front of you so that they get an idea. So, Shubham, tell me about your parents, your family, who is in the family, what they do for living, and how many members are there. With that, I like to know that what activities you involve with the family, how do you spend time with the family. With that, I also like to know that for the problem solving, whom you would like to go, and at the what end you like to what dependency you have on financially towards your family. So certain kind of questions were asked. There's a mirage of questions now. These kind of questions were not asked in the corporate world, not at all. So suppose a person forget the number of questions. What impression a person interview have in his mind?
Yeah, I like this rapid fire. There's no rapid fire, so to say. It is basically you're asking him a series of questions, and the very purpose is to see how much of retention the candidate has. Somebody may, after answering two questions only, may start asking, sir, what was next? Or somebody may answer maybe eight, nine of them, and then say, sir, have I left anything? So it is basically to check how much of retention or the grasp the candidate has. It's only that purpose. Second thing is, now if a candidate stops after say two questions, it's not that we do not give him a chance. Then the interviewing officer will go about explaining the rest of the things and again ask him as to what was the answer to that. And again, the candidate has got a chance to explain anything and everything that he is doing.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for your lovely time.
Thank you very much, Shubham. It was a wonderful interaction.
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.